Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well. You beautiful, beautiful people. Do you know something? I need to do some housekeeping because I do multiple videos a day and I don't know how many I'm ever going to do anymore because I'm going to try and do as many as possible because you're amazing and you damn well deserve it. So just keep an eye out. Make sure you've got the notification bell hit on and set to all. Obviously, if you want as many notifications as possible. But the way YouTube works, I think you basically get like 2 notifications a day that they can pretty much guarantee. And even those are sketchier than Moscow, Idaho. So what I will say is, if you've got them on and you still don't seem to be getting notifications, hit unsubscribe, then resubscribe. That may reset them. Also, make sure that if you're looking on a phone or on a tablet, that your settings for notifications are set to on. Because even if you've got your YouTube settings set to on notifications, if your phone or tablet settings are set to off on notifications on a specific app, then your phone settings will supersede your app settings. Does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to get on with it. Because video 1 earlier, which I hope that you've all watched, because this will make a lot more sense if you've watched video 1. But if you haven't watched video 1, watch this, then go back and watch that. But we're basically talking about, is there a potential that this Greek setting, this sorority, fraternity, would they lie to cover up a crime? And I think what history has taught us is that is very, very much a likely scenario where something could happen, whether it be something that gets out of hand, or a hazing situation, something like that. And again, I'm not saying that the Idaho 4 case was a hazing. I do not think that whatsoever. But do I think that there's a potential there that something broke out, a fight broke out, and it was to do with these fraternities and sororities? They all got involved, and perhaps they helped sort some things out in the house, hence a delay, and they'll all keep quiet, they'll all keep stum, and allow whatever will be. Yes, I think that there's something that you cannot completely take off the table. You know, if Brian Kohberger's innocent, someone else is guilty, and you're going to have to start looking elsewhere. And look, Brian Kohberger could well and truly be guilty. Of course he could. There is circumstantial evidence, and there is some issues, but ultimately someone did it. That's the fact. The fact is someone did it. The reality is we don't know who yet. And if Moscow, Idaho have anything to do with it, and the way that things are playing out, we might not ever know. Because there will still be people, even if Brian gets convicted and he gets convicted solely on circumstantial evidence, and a lot of people are going to be pissed off. I'm just saying the truth. But anyway, look, with regards to the frat situation, is there things in the Idaho 4 case that supports that narrative? Is there things that could potentially lead you to believe that is how this played out? And I think there is. I think the main thing is this. I've seen people comment and say, look, if somebody went in here just to do this crime and maximum damage, so to speak, you got to think to yourself, why would somebody go into this house and go to specific rooms? And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I mean, you've got to consider that someone went into this house and specifically went in the house and walked past specific doors before they got to their first victim. That's a fact. They walked past, they was on a floor that contained what would end up being 2 more victims, and 1 surviving roommate. So they've walked past them and gone to a top floor. So that shows that there was some purpose to it. Now, I've said to you in the past that this almost had a military feel to it, and I felt that, you know, if you're someone who's going to clear a building, so to speak, you'd start at the top and you work your way down. So was it someone who just went in here, bit of military history, done a bit of reading up, whatever, thought they were fucking Rambo, went in there and done what they did upstairs, and then were going to come downstairs, but then they still walked past another door. So I'm thinking to myself, right, so why did they walk past that door? They must have gone into this house with, and I've said this multiple times, with the foresight that they may have to force doors open. Because they must, unless they had prior knowledge that those kids did not lock their doors, they must have considered that they would go in here and all the doors would be locked. Does that make sense? Or am I talking shit? Let me know down below. So they're gone in here with the foresight they may have to force doors open. They go and sort of do the attack upstairs, come down, and the room that's nearest to it, which would have potentially been, if they've heard somebody shout out, shut the fuck up and all that, which they may have heard that if that happened. Obviously, that seems to be News Nation that sourced that, so I can't say that's 100% accurate, but it would at least, you've got to assume that it was said, something along those lines. Anyway, so they've gone past that door, and then they must have gone all the way to Xana and Ethan's door. And why do I think that? Because I think if this person is buzzing on adrenaline, they've just done what they did upstairs, and Ethan and Xana say they heard something, and they came out of their room, and they're in sort of the living space, that void between their room and Dylan Mortenson's room, then that altercation is going to happen in that area. The person who did this is not going to be calmly walking them back to their room and that attack happening in that room. To me, this seems like this person went into this house, purposefully went to one room, came down, purposefully ignored another one, and purposefully went to another one and done another attack. And that, to me, is that you've got two surviving roommates in this house because they were never going to be intended victims. Never going to be intended victims. Because, again, I say that if this was a case of some mass murderer broke into a house to murder everyone in that house, then they would have gone in every single room. There would have been a randomness to it. It would have been chaos, but there would have been room to room to room to room, and this wasn't. This was very strategic, not only in the fact that this person seemingly had some degree of skill, both physically and mentally, to be able to overcome what they did and find their way through it, and to leave the house relatively scot-free. And if it was Brian Koberger, for instance, we know that there was nothing taken from the house, outside the house, not in his car, not in his apartment, not in his parents' house. So, do you know what I mean? And for me, from a frat perspective, I think of it like this. Someone closer to home would have known what room people were in. They would have known that. Now, Dylan Mortenson, someone had, I can't remember 100% what it was about, but they were talking about Dylan Mortenson potentially thought who she saw was Ethan. So Dylan has saw someone and perhaps thought they were Ethan. And that's why they weren't reacting to it. Dylan Mortenson could have believed that was anything. She knew that there was parties the night before they had loads of parties, so it wasn't uncommon to have people in this house, and people who were in this house and who went to these parties and frequented this house would have known that fact, that they could have potentially walked into this house and it wouldn't have mattered. They could have just literally walked in the door, and even if they walked into the house and there was people sitting there, it wouldn't have looked odd. It wouldn't have looked odd. Because they'd have just said, well, we're apart. I've seen houses like this. Almost like a fucking open house. You're getting gassed up. You go out to a club. You go home. You go into this house. You walk in the door. Hey, and people are usually in there and they're partying about. And the doors are always open. To me, this makes more sense for someone close by, to come in who knew the house, knew who was where, what was going on, and the rest is history. Now, is there any specific reason that they attack specific people? I don't know. But it's not necessarily about who was the target. It could have simply been about who wasn't. And Dylan Mortenson, and the youngest being Bethany Funk, who was right on the bottom floor as well. Maybe they were just odd ones out. Maybe they were just outsiders. And they weren't part of it. Who knows? I don't know. But there were so many options. There were so many things that could have potentially happened. The thing what makes me feel that there is a potential is someone closer to home, potentially fraternity, even sorority. I hate to say it, but you can't just turn around and say that males are the only people who can kill, because that's not right. But someone close to home would have known who was in that house, where they were in that house. They would have gone in there with some degree of not feeling that if they got caught in that house, it would have been too out of the ordinary. Remember, I'm here to help you and things like that being said. Do you know what? Somebody could say that to someone's face if they knew that person. There would be a trust there. Say Ethan come out and heard something and met someone face to face who he knew, and that person said, I'm here to help, and ushered them back to the room. Ethan is more likely to walk back to the room with someone he knows if he feels that that person he knows is there to help him. Because there's some people who are gone into this house to attack. A group of people. Ethan, they're kicking off, mate. They're kicking off. But I'll help you. I'll help you. Get back to your room. Let's get you in your room and get the door locked. Bang. Attack happens there. Think about it. Spitballing. Just spitballing. I'll catch you all in the next one.